If you have an anxious attachment style to your partner, I want you to try this. Big breath in, big breath out. Okay, I want you to think back to the most recent time you felt the anxiety towards your partner. So just think back towards that moment. And then once you think back to that moment, imagine you're there again. So in your mind, imagine you're in that moment when you had the anxious attachment. And then what I want you to do is notice whereabouts in your body can you feel the anxiety? Is it in your chest or your stomach or your head, or is it all over? So just notice where it is. And then I want you to repeat this. Say, anxiety, show me the memory when I first started to feel this anxiety. Now you'd be tracing it back to a memory where it first started. So it could be a previous relationship. It could take you back to something in childhood, right? But you're anxious towards another person. You're worried where they are, what they're doing, if they're going to come back, if they're going to leave. It will take you back to a memory. Once you can see that memory, I want you to think, what could you or the other person have done differently so that you weren't anxious in that moment? Right, so if someone was going to leave, imagine you went with them, or imagine they stayed, or imagine they told you, hey, I'm just going to leave for a minute, I'll be back straight afterwards, and they came back. Right, or imagine if it takes you back to a memory where someone does the wrong thing, imagine they did the right thing. Right, so that's the lesson. It's important to know the lesson, because what I want you to do next, I want you to imagine yourself in the future, right, with your current partner, or just with any person who you know who can do what that lesson was, right? So if the lesson was communication, if the lesson was to be more respectful, if the lesson was to stay connected, whatever the lesson was, imagine yourself in the future with a person that can do that. And I want you to imagine how that feels. How do you feel around a person basically that doesn't make you anxious, that makes you feel confident and secure? And notice the feeling that it gets in your heart and around the body. And then I want you to repeat this. Say, anxiety, I have no use for you anymore. Leave my body now. Now, for some of you, all the anxiety will release from that. But for some of you, what you'll notice is the anxiety just got a bit smaller. Now that it's a bit smaller, we're basically just going to repeat the same process, right? And it will link to a different memory. So just say, anxiety, show me the next memory that made me anxious. Right, now it should be showing you the next memory. Now this may be with your current partner, it may be the previous partner, again it may be something else that happened earlier in life. But again, with that memory, I basically just want you to solve it, right? To solve the mistake so that you wouldn't feel anxious in that memory. What should you or the other person have done differently for you to not feel anxious? Right, so if a person has been disloyal, imagine they were loyal. If a person just left without saying anything, imagine they had communication. If a person rejected you, imagine that there was better communication, or imagine they wanted to stay connected, right? So just imagine basically what the opposite or the correction is, and then imagine yourself in the future around people that can do that, and imagine how that feels, right? Notice the feeling around the heart and around the rest of your body. And then I want you to repeat this. Say, anxiety, I have no use for you anymore. Leave my body now. And for some of you, that will release the rest of the anxiety. But for some of you, it will just make the anxiety a bit smaller again. So think of the anxiety as like an onion that has layers. Each layer will link to a different memory, but don't worry, it's not a bottomless pit. There's just a certain number of core memories that you need to heal for it to completely dissolve and release. But if there's some still in there, I want you to try that process again. Just say, show me the next memory I need to heal, and then follow what we did then. And then let me know how you go. Write down in the comments how you went, and let me know if you have any questions. All right, guys, hope that helps. Have an awesome day.